You've prayed about it, you've waited, you've done everything you know how to do, and still, nothing happens. The door stays closed. The answer doesn't come. The promise feels like it's been sitting on a shelf somewhere, gathering dust, while you keep checking and checking and checking. If you've ever felt that way, here's something that might change how you see the silence. God's timing is not your timing. And that's not a comforting cliche meant to make you feel better about waiting. It's actually one of the most consistent patterns you'll find anywhere in Scripture. Think about Abraham. God promised him a son, a promise that would become the foundation of an entire nation. Abraham was 75 years old when he received that promise. He was 100 years old when it was finally fulfilled. 25 years between the promise and the answer. 25 years of waiting, doubting, even trying to make it happen his own way along the path. Why the delay? Scripture doesn't give a single neat answer, but it gives us a pattern. Abraham needed to grow in faith before he could carry the weight of what was coming. The promise wasn't just about having a child, it was about becoming the kind of person who could trust God with the impossible. And that kind of trust isn't built in a moment, it's built over years. Think about Joseph, sold into slavery by his own brothers at 17, thrown into a foreign prison on a false accusation. Forgotten, it seemed, by everyone, including God. 13 years passed between the dream he had as a boy and the day that dream actually came true when he stood as second in command over all of Egypt. 13 years is a long time to wait for a promise that already felt true in your heart. But look at who Joseph became during those years. Not bitter, not vengeful. When his brothers finally stood before him, terrified, expecting punishment, Joseph said something that reveals exactly what those years had been doing. He told them that what they intended for evil, God intended for good, to save many lives. Joseph couldn't have said that, as a 17-year-old boy thrown into a pit by his own family. He could only say it as a man who had been shaped by 13 years he didn't choose and didn't understand at the time. This is the part most of us miss when we're in the waiting. We assume the delay means God has forgotten, or that we did something wrong, or that the door is closed for good. But Scripture tells a different story, again and again. The delay is rarely punishment. It's preparation. Ecclesiastes puts it simply, there's a time for everything, a season for every purpose under heaven. Not because life is random, but because timing itself carries meaning. A seed planted too early dies in frost. A fruit picked too soon is bitter and useless. Even in nature, timing isn't an obstacle to growth. It's the very mechanism of it. And here's the part that should genuinely change how you wait. God isn't simply choosing a date on a calendar. He's watching something far more important. Whether you today are ready to actually hold what you're asking for. Think about it practically. If you ask for a level of influence or responsibility before you've developed the character to carry it well, that blessing can become the very thing that destroys you. If you ask for a relationship before you understand what healthy love actually requires of you, you will likely repeat the same patterns that hurt you the first time. If you ask for breakthrough before you've learned to handle adversity with faith instead of panic, success itself might become your undoing. God's delay is often God's protection, not protection from pain. Abraham and Joseph both endured real pain during their waiting, but protection from receiving something good in a state where it would do you harm rather than good. This is why Psalm 27 doesn't simply say, wait. It says, wait for the Lord, be strong and take heart. Waiting, in the biblical sense, was never meant to be passive. It's not sitting and staring at a closed door. It's active trust, building strength, building character, building faith. While the door is still closed so that when it finally opens, you're actually able to walk through it well. So, if you're in a season of waiting right now, here's what might be true. It's not that God forgot. It's not that you missed your moment. It's that the very thing you're asking for requires a version of you that's still being formed. The question worth asking in the silence isn't when, God. It's what are you building in me right now that I'll need later? Because His timing was never about making you wait longer than necessary. It was always about making sure that When the answer finally comes, you're ready to receive it and ready to steward it well. The wait isn't empty, it's where you're being made ready.